and I'm the oldest, and I was, at that time, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. She bought a chicken, and we don't cook. You know, hell, we're lucky if we can get up and have, you know, cold cereal. You know, get up and get a bowl and shit like that. She didn't make nothing for us. We're getting pretty fucking hungry, and that chicken has been in there now for 2 weeks. I cooked it up, dude, and I ate it, and I got sick. I was so sick that the insides of me was sweating so hard that I could actually feel my head and my chest. It's like smoking a lot of pot, and then you sit down, and you're like, whoa, man, maybe I shouldn't have smoked that much, because you're really feeling really fucked up. I mean, your head is like, and you're swallowing now, like you think you might even get sick, you know, like that. But this was a complete inner heat inside. I got food poisoning. I damn near died. I was sick for 13 weeks. I never went to the hospital either.
Dicey chicken.
This shit was blue when I started cooking.
Well, that's where you went wrong there, buddy.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I did not know. I mean, the kids, my sisters, they were starving. I mean, there's a 2 and a 3-year-old, and I'm 5 or 6, and then my sister, she's 4 years old. These guys are hungry. They're crying for days. We done ate all the food. We're already to the point where we're eating the spices. You know, I mean, we're opening up eating raw fucking noodles out of macaroni things, you know, and shit like that. The eggs. We were out of everything in the house. All we had was a half a loaf of bread and pepper. I took out the bread, and I took off all the crust, and I put pepper on that. That's what I made, too. And I got in fucking trouble. I got in trouble because I got out of my room, because she tied the doors up. She tied me up in my room on the bed, and then tied my door, and then left. And I got out, and I was outside. And the people wanted to know where my mom was. Fuck, I don't know. I'm hungry, though. She found out that I got out, and she sat me down and took the whole loaf of bread, and she put, and you know them old pepper containers that you can put top of it, has the big hole? She had this much pepper on there, like that, on the bread, and made me eat it. And if I didn't eat it, because I took bread out of the thing, she had my hands sitting on top of the counter and used a rolling pin. Wow. And then because she was even more pissed off about that, she took hot gravy and poured it down my throat. I couldn't talk until I was 7 years old. And I stuttered. By the time I was 7, I was stuttering. I couldn't talk from when I was 5 years old all the way until I was 7. And even to this day, I can't have nothing hot. Hot, nothing. Because it will scorch my throat, and it will burn all the way up. I mean, like, you guys probably drink hot coffee. Fuck that, dude. I get it right here. Forget it. It's hot. Tonight I had steak. And the steak was even a little hot for me. You know, the heat was. And I got the sides of my tongue and the sides of my throat right here. I can feel the skin on it. It's loose. And that's going to be like that my whole life. They had to go in and they had to keep hacking it and then cutting it because it kept wanting to grow back and they were trying to keep it from getting infected. And they still never took us from her. But then when she tied me up in the room and I got out, and then the state came in and they actually took us from her. But then my real dad showed up out of fucking nowhere and she got us back, and then that's when the real damage started happening. When I ran away from her, I was going to be 8 years old. We lived in Gallup, New Mexico. All I remember was looking, and it was in June 1st when I ran away, because her birthday's on June 6th. I remember looking down the hallway of a trailer to see how close she was. And she had a big frying pan, them heavy black ones with the drippers on them.
Those are the heavy ones.
She was just like this, trying to wallop me with this thing. And there's, in the old day, which you won't know, but he should know, is the old style tables had that big fat metal rim on them. And they looked like a marble table, but they weren't. It was just solid.
Formica.
Yeah, it was super hard. Okay, and the chairs back then, they had somewhat of a backing, but they were solid metal. And the fans were all metal. Solid metal. I mean steel. The fans. We had those sitting up in a chair, you know, tilted like this to blow air down the trailer because it was 112 degrees out that day. I was looking back to see how close she was. As I turned, I slammed into this chair and that fan. Broke the fan and caught the blades. I felt it go slam, 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 slam. My face is fucking blood all over. and as I fell over this thing, I caught the table. I caught the table with my forehead and right here on my face. Now it's really bleeding. I crashed underneath the table, and there's a little railing thing that goes across that divides the living room from the kitchen, and it drops down. I crashed into that and knocked out right to the ground and went out the front door, dude. I never did look back. I stayed around until June 6th to make some money and stuff so I could give it to my sister so that they can have some money. On June 6th, I actually left and I went to the truck stop, and all I had on, dude, was shorts. Nothing
That's
else.
my grandmother's
Nothing
birthday,
else.
dude. June 6th.
That's my mom's
She was
birthday.
born, guess what?
And my
June
my
6th.
daughter's is June 9th.
Guess what? She was born 4 days from Adolf Hitler. She was born June 6th in 1889.
I got on the back of a semi.
4 days soon.
Hitler was born on 420.
I got on the back of a semi.
What's that?
Hitler was born on 420.
That's right. You're right. He was born then the same year, though.
Oh,
Look
okay.
up 1889.
I got on the back of a semi where they have their tarps and their chains, their riggings. Like when you step up, not in the semi, but in the back of it, where the trailer hooks up, and there's a big place where they hang all their chains and stuff up in the tarp. I crawled in right behind there. I left Gallup, New Mexico. It took me 4 days, and I ended up out here in California. I didn't know where I was going. I had no clue as where I was at. All I know is I was on this thing for 4 days. We pulled into Gurneyville. And they just opened up the brand new, what's that grocery store I was telling you about? Safeway, Piggly Wiggly, something like that. Just opened, grand opening. I walked in there after the trucker got out. I was starving.
Hey, you don't have another 8-ball on for sale?
I can bring you one tomorrow.
What? Keep that.
No.
Wow. I was so hungry.
Yeah, come by tomorrow.
Okay, I was so hungry that when I went into the Safeway in there, and again, all I got on is shorts. I walked in there and I found chocolate milk, and I found fruit, and I ate and ate and ate until I got full, and I left. And I started walking the street of Guerneville and found the river, and walked the river all the way down, and still didn't know where I was at. And I walked all the way up to Rio Neto, and was down there by Rio Neto, underneath where they got like a tunnel, but I wasn't in the tunnel. I was off to the side, and I built my own little hole. I lived in there for 1.5 years. And there's a people who kind of knew and saw me a little bit here and there. But how I lived was right there off the river, catfish. My grandpa taught me how to fish, and I'd walk up and down the river, and I caught these lures and fishing string, and I caught my first catfish with popcorn. And how I cut it and skinned it. You remember back in the day when you used to have the Coca-Cola bottles, the big ones, the green ones?
Yeah.
You break it, and then I swear to God, that glass is so sharp you could shave with it. I scaled my fish with it. Made bonfires. You could have bonfires as high as this house, dude. Nobody ever said shit. But if you want to be out of sight, out of mind, keep everything low and out of sight. So I kept a little fire going, and then I got a bunch of old plywood and stuff. I dug a huge hole, and I made a big safe, a box, and that's where I lived for about 1.5 years.
How old were you?
I was 8 years old. Okay. I left when I was 7. My birthday is in August, and so when I got out here, I turned 8 in August, and I got my first girlfriend when I was 11 years old, dude.
How old, the older woman you lived with?
Oh, that was my girlfriend. Yeah, she was 18, and I was 11. But I got laid in Gallup, New Mexico by my babysitter when I was 7 years old, gonna be 8. Came home from school, and she said, come in here. She was 18. And all I remember, dude, that pussy, I felt like a Brillo pack. And I swear to God, I was looking for teeth. Because it felt I never felt anything like that. It was like crunchy and just fucking massive hair, like, pow. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is this? And it felt real squishy and slimy, squashy and shit. And then she's like, well, you can get on top. And I'm like, get on top? What do you mean, get on top? I'm like, fucking, am I supposed to stand up? Get on top? What am I doing here? After a little fucking around and shit like that, hell, I became a natural. She came home, I knew exactly where I was going. And this went on for like 3 months. And then she got shit canned by Ellie. And then Ellie pulled that shit, trying to beat the shit out of me, and I disappeared. Anyway, it is a proven fact, and I've proven the fact, and it's statistically proven that for every day that you're gone, it will take them a year to try and find you. I left her when I was 7, going to be 8. She did not find me until I was 15 years old. Dude, I was already not even going to school anymore. I had 2 cars. I made $200 from 1970 to 1979. I made $292,000, and it states that on my Social Security, on your thing, where it tells you how much you've made in your whole life for the years and everything. 1970 to 1979, I made $292,000.
Wow.
I started the CETA program in Guerneville to help kids who were 15 and you had to be 14, you couldn't be 13, you had to be 14 up to 17, you couldn't be 18, otherwise you couldn't do it. To have a work project for the kids who wanted to work and not be getting into trouble. So I started that, and then that was legit. And that was full-time for me, but the other kids, they were part-time. They could only work 2 hours a day or something like that, but I got to work 8 to 12 hours a day. And at that time, minimum wage was $2.65 an hour. I remember when I was 5 years old, planting hemlock trees for 25 cents a tree, and got paid for it. For every tree I planted, I got paid 25 cents. 5.
I started working when I was 5.
I can show you a scar on my
Door-to-door
ass.
sales with my brother. We sold greeting cards, door to door, all occasion cards. But from the back of the comic book, they go, earn valuable prizes or money. We don't want cash. We eliminate the middleman. We want the